favor on those who fear him, on those who hope for his loving kindness, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. Let us pray. O Lord our Father, your omniscient eyes are attentive to the righteous. You will never remove your gaze from your righteous servants. You enthrone them with kings and exalt them forever. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears attentive to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. Because your loving kindness is better than life, my lips will praise you. For your faithfulness, your praise will continually be in my mouth. We are here in this assembly because you have appointed us as your elected officials to be your servants of governmental affairs. We do not come in our own strength or wisdom, for we are reminded that we are but dust, fashioned by the Master's hand to accomplish your will and your work for the betterment of this state. Help us, O Lord, this day to be pleasing to you. Now unto him who is able to keep you from stumbling, to make you stand in his presence of his glory with great joys, to the only God our Savior, through your beloved Son, be glory, majesty, dominion, and authority before all time and now and forevermore. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, members, we're in the roll call. Please record your presence. We're in the roll call.
Welcome to State House today. I'm Gavin Jackson along with Maayan Schechter here in the State House lobby. It is week 17. It is Tuesday.
Is it 17?
17?
It might be, yeah. I honestly, sorry.
Shock. Yeah, we wrapped up week 16. The penultimate week to sine die. It's Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. I got that date right. The House has gavelled in, but we just saw that the Senate has gavelled in as well, but they're seated to 145, so a little speed bump as they start their work week. Of course, there's only 5 more working days left, so take your time. What's the big rush? There's only 49 pages on the Senate calendar and 17 pages on the House calendar,
You can read fast. We can read fast.
It's okay.
Oh, there's the debate part.
Oh,
My
yeah.
mistake.
And like the second reading, the third reading, getting over the other chamber.
Right.
That being said, before we catch up with Maayan and what you just heard from the governor in a brief press conference talking about redistricting, which is something we've wrote about in the Gavel at scetv.org/thegavel. It's a big hubbub right now. Everyone's talking about redistricting in the South. Spoiler, no big change yet, but I'm sure everyone's going to be talking about it. But I want to talk about what's on the House calendar today. Again, it's Tuesday, not the busiest days, but we only have, again, this is one of 6 working days left in session, so we might see some activity. There were some interesting bills that I want to go through on the uncontested calendar, especially S508, which is the expansion of the 2000 Heritage Act that protects monuments and memorials, name buildings, and the like. The Senate approved that bill and was amended by the House Judiciary Committee, and it's expected to get contested too on the calendar in the House. There's also S238, which is a kind of a low rent version of allowing lawmakers to come back to deal with the budget during sine die. And also there's 769, which is a standard continuing resolution to deal with the budget. Again, if we don't pass a budget by July 1st, the start of the new fiscal year, then the CR just maintains state funding levels at the current fiscal year's rate. It also keeps operations, the state funded. Again, that's not going to happen. There will be a compromise, I hope, right? Maybe we don't know when, but there will be a compromise on that budget at some point. We expect the budget to get back to the House this week. H2 is the buzzword that everyone needs to know. And the House will start amending that bill. We can talk about that more in a moment. I want to keep going on some other bills that I found interesting on the calendar, Maayan, including a ratification bill, S582, that moved through the Senate with unanimous support last year. Finally got out of a House Judiciary Committee to deal, and that's really just amending our Constitution as the voters did back in the 2024 election, just to change Section 4 to read that only a citizen of the United States and of this state of the age of 18 and upwards who is properly registered is entitled to vote as provided by law. So that's just a slight wording change there. Just needs to be ratified as the voters have already approved that language on the 2024 general election ballot. So again, kind of funny to see how that just sat in the House Judiciary Committee for like a year. It's like sometimes they lose track of bills, who knows? Maybe they play their games with the Senate. And then, of course, on the contested calendar, Maayan, I know I went through the calendar today. I'm really prepared for work today. I'm excited. We got to get locked in for the final days. But one that I think we'll see a lot of debate over, probably on Wednesday, is that ivermectin bill, H4042, which will make that anti-parasitic drug available over the counter in tablet form for human consumption. Now, this drug was originally introduced as a veterinary drug dealing with worms and mites and other things for livestock and animals, but now it's also been approved for humans as well. But now it's going to be available over the counter for folks. Maybe if you have worms or mites or any sort of parasite, it's going to be helpful for that use. That's the medication for that right there. So of course, that's going to be interesting to see, as well as lottery ticket vending machines. H5057, that could generate about $36 million worth of revenue. Maayan, I thought that bill was kind of interesting because it's still in the House, would need to get through the Senate, but we were always talking about like gambling bills early in the session. If we can't pass a lottery ticket vending machine bill, what's the hope for gambling in the future in this state?
I mean, it's probably a bit slim to none. And obviously, the sponsor of that legislation, Representative Valentine, tried to get a measure slipped into the budget, attached to the budget, that would have done just that.
Yeah.
And it was ruled not germane to the budget. And so he had to go back to standalone legislation, which obviously makes it harder. Now, that's not to say we may hear about it again on the House floor today, or excuse me, this week when they deal with H2. There's always an opportunity. And then, of course, it could stay in, it could stay out during negotiations. But right, having a standalone bill always makes it a little bit more difficult, especially within the last couple of weeks of session, to get something through.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at in the House version. Anything else that you've been picking up on the House that we should be aware of besides the budget, which again, maybe walk people through what we expect to see when it comes to H2, the budget going back to the House.
Right, so the budget originated in the House. It is a House bill. House passed it, sent it over to the Senate amended it, they sent it back. The House never agrees to what the Senate does, and also, unlike the first time that they get the budget, they also get the opportunity to add in those what they call community investments, earmarks, pet projects. So we hopefully will have a better idea of what lawmakers are asking for. Now, again, just to go back, and we've talked about this previously, both the budget chair in the House and in the Senate have been clear. Nonprofits are really off the table this year. They're looking at actual legitimate community investments. Not saying the nonprofits aren't, but things that are going to like fix fire trucks, fire departments, law enforcement, roads, bridges, things like that. Things that are a little bit more tangible, parks. And so we probably will not see any nonprofits, just like we didn't see any nonprofits. So the House will re-amend it. It'll go back to the Senate. The Senate never accepts what the House did, and that thing will be kicked to a conference committee. The two sides will negotiate, and again, we will see, will they have a budget? Will they tackle the budget after session? You know, there's a lot of conversations about the Sine Die agreement. We can talk about that. You know, will we have a budget beginning July 1st? We have had continuing resolutions before. That's not rare. No. It's been a while, but it's not rare.
COVID.
So COVID being, I think, the last time we really had a CR. So, but anyway, that's essentially the process in a nutshell.
So, on that being said, that's what we're watching the House this week. Again, it's Tuesday, it's early. We have a large Wednesday ahead of us. And again, we have next week, the final week. We have children screaming in the lobby. That being said, you were just with the governor during a press conference downstairs talking about redistricting. Again, like we said, that was been heavily covered in the gavel. What has he said? Anything different from what we expect to hear when it comes to talking about redistricting in the state? Because remember, we heard from Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey last week saying, not too sure about this. This could actually jeopardize the current makeup of the delegation and jeopardize some currently safe Republicans. So what's the governor saying?
Right. So if you were looking for, I do support redistricting, I don't support redistricting, that is not what you were going to get out of the governor this morning. I tried very hard to stick him down on one of those lines. Essentially, in a nutshell, the governor is not going to pressure lawmakers to act one way or another. Okay. You know, his office already said he does not anticipate on calling them back for a special session. Now, again, that hinges largely on whether the legislature passes a sine die resolution or not. But it sounds like, from what we inferred from the governor today, he is going to leave the redistricting decision up to lawmakers. Okay. He's not going to make that decision on his own. He's not going to pressure them one way or another. But he did mention two things. He wants the legislature to ensure that our map complies with federal law and the U.S. Constitution. Of course, back in 2024, the U.S. Supreme Court, under the same current makeup, decided that our map was partially, partisan gerrymandered, not racially gerrymandered. Now, again, there's a lot of criticism that those two are one and the same, but the governor wants to ensure that our map complies. And he also put a lot of emphasis that he wants lawmakers to seriously factor in what it could mean if we were to decide to do redistricting, what it could mean for the election schedule. Again, ballots have been printed, ballots have been sent overseas to military service members and overseas citizens from South Carolina. Early voting starts at the end of this month. And of course, the primary is June 9th. So if you decide to change the election, you pretty much unwind the entire primary calendar, and on top of that, you open up candidate filing again. And that's another serious consideration. Reporters were trying to research when the last time this sort of happened, back in the early 90s. Back in the early 90s is when we last had this sort of delay of elections until about August. And I'm not really sure a lot of lawmakers, even the folks that are running in the House, may want to do that. But again, this comes down, I think, to, we talked about this in the gavel this morning, this is less of a legal question probably, and this is more of a political question. And so we are essentially awaiting on House leadership in particular to make a decision what they would like to do.
Well, and we saw that hearing back in February. They were talking about trying to change the maps. That was before a Judiciary Subcommittee hearing. And we did see Jay Jordan, who was heavily involved in the ad hoc redistricting committee last time we did this, say like, okay, like, thanks for the hearing, but we're really not going to go forward on this. Obviously, it's before the Supreme Court change, not ruling Louisiana, but at the same time, it's still so last minute. And like, again, not only would you have the state house members, but you put all these primaries on hold, including the governor's race too. I mean, this is that would be a complete upending on a long shot, and there's not even a map that shows anyone staying even safe when it comes to this too. I mean, you could really jeopardize a lot of things, like we heard from Shane Massey. I think this might be more of a 2028 issue, but then again, when we're talking about that, like, then you're going to be looking down the gun for the census coming in 2030 and 32. So it really becomes a political issue, like you're saying. And who's the loudest person, who makes the most sense. Because if it's just going to be a big boondoggle,
Right.
what are we getting out of it?
And
here?
I think also, going back to the governor's race, this is the other consideration. I mean, a lot of the candidates on the GOP side have called for the legislature to redistrict. But look, money runs out. And if candidates are going to be tacking on more months, they're going to be tacking on more money. And so, again, these are all considerations. This is why this is probably, again, largely a political question. Again, we are waiting on the House to really make a decision. We talked about the sine-die agreement, and this is where it becomes very important. The sine-die agreement is essentially an outline, as you know, of what the legislature can come back post-sine-die on May 14th to do. The Senate already passed the sine-die earlier this year. They prioritized it. They got it out of the way. It's a clean sine-die. They would deal with the budget, conference committees, gubernatorial appointments, gubernatorial vetoes. Very, very narrow. The question is, what does the House do? Do they pass a sine-die agreement? Do they amend it to include redistricting? And then if they do amend it to include redistricting, does the Senate even agree to that? So, I mean, again, we have 6 days, 6 days to make all these decisions.
Well, and I think we're in this world too. I mean, it's like everyone's in the world of the soundbite. We're going to suspend this and do that. It's like, what are you going to like just keep the statewide elected offices and those primaries going forward and just suspend the congressional primaries? I mean, it would be very complicated. I think we're in this territory where we really need to hear some clear communication. You kind of barely heard that from the governor. Of course, he's ceding that power to the legislature to be the clear communicators. We were pretty clear with Shane Massey on that last week. I'm sure some things have changed, but it seems like we need to hear from the House and Senate leadership directly about what they plan to do. I could see maybe like an ad hoc committee in the off-session meeting to deal with some of this stuff and to start working on studying what redistricting could look like, but to just throw a wrench in things with less than 40 days until the primaries would be kind of just chaotic.
Look, I think both House and Senate leaders for months, right, they had been very, very clear that they do not want to deal with redistricting. But things changed over the weekend, and you have to add the additional fact that the White House is putting a lot of pressure on states. We're seeing that in places like Indiana, where there's been a lot of pressure. And so you always have that factor in. The big question is if the legislature does ultimately decide not to redraw the maps mid-decade, does the president weigh in and start taking sides on things? I mean, again, these are all the parts of, there have been conversations that have been ongoing, right? I don't think it takes someone who reports on the State House to know that or not. The question though is how do you do it, and how do you do it, if you do it, in a way that doesn't receive blowback, right? Again, the entire House is up for re-election this year, so they're constantly weighing the political gravity and weight and impact of everything.
Truly, and of course you saw what happened in Virginia, the Republicans getting mad that Democrats gained ground there. It's like, again, similar things could happen here too. It's gonna be a matter of messaging, I think, to really see, until you get a clear map to understand what the ramifications of doing this right now would be. So
right, and right now we have not seen a map, right? We've seen a map from the conservative hardline House Freedom Caucus, but that is not the map that is going to.
And if you get one through, it's going to be contested in the courts. I mean, it's not going to automatically take effect and be like, oh, we'll see you in November, guys.
This is a very lengthy process, and I think I think objectively, like, that is something the public has to understand. This is not just a walk-in, do it and leave. This is a much lengthier process.
So we'll be watching that too. I think we really drilled down on that pretty well too. Talked about the House, and we'll be watching more in the Senate. I wasn't going to go through the Senate calendar, but it's like 49 pages, so never know where they're going to go on things. But we did hear from Massey last week that they're going to get some things on special orders, so we'll be tuning in for that as well. Any indication?
And we do know that they are supposed to they're expected to take up the regulations bill, the regulatory bill that is a priority of the House Speaker. He talked about that with us last week. That is something that Senator Massey says the Senate will likely take up. But you mentioned it's an almost 50-page calendar. There are a lot of bills that I'm sure a lot of folks feel like should take priority status. So a lot of TBD on exactly what else will be number one this week.
So we'll be watching a lot. And we also expect to hear from the House Clerk Bubba Cromer today, who will be retiring. He'll be streaming online, but he'll be giving his farewell speech. He's been around the House for about 40-some years. So it'll be a farewell. We'll be seeing a lot of farewell speeches in the coming days too, with some lawmakers retiring, including Democrats Spencer Wetmore, Jermaine Johnson, House Majority Leader Davey Hyatt. Probably missing someone else,
McCabe, Representative Ryan McCabe. Yeah, there's a small handful of folks, and then again, This does not include anyone who may perhaps not survive the primary,
Yeah.
if we have a primary, but
We have a
survive the primary. So,
TBD.
yeah.
But yeah, a lot of great information. And again, you can keep that, we can follow along too, especially as these crazy days speed up here as we sprint towards Sine Die on May 14th. It's the last day of session when everything ends at 5 o'clock on that Thursday. So we'll be covering that in and out at the Gavel at scetv.org/the Gavel. You can watch us streaming on youtube.com/@scetv news, as well as on ETV World. And we'll be bringing you live coverage every morning, every legislative day, as we sprint towards Sine Die May 14th. I'm Gavin Jackson with Maayan Schechter here in the State House lobby. We're going to send you over to the House, and again, the Senate will come back in at 1:45 today.
The son, and by the way, he's up there, Representative Mark Smith is up there with Michael with the resolution that we passed a few weeks ago. But Michael's an 8th-generation Charlestonian, the son of Virginia and Warren Bennett. Like me, he grew up in middle-class West Ashley section of Charleston. He grew up in a 2-bedroom house with 9 family members, and he has lived and led an amazing life of success and philanthropy and contribution to community, and he's done it all through hard work, through passion, through love of family and community. He's just a really special man, and he's got a really special family with him. He started out as a student at the College of Charleston, and he would pick up odd jobs. He was a carpenter. He was a bellhop. He worked on a cruise ship. While he was in college, he started a moped business, and it was called Freewheeling. And he would rent mopeds in downtown Charleston. He's told me this, he saw a visionary leader in Joe Riley, and he bet everything that Charleston would change and that he was going to be a part of that change. With that company, it led to investments in real estate, and currently, as a result of all that hard work and vision and passion and community investment, he ended up founding Bennett Hospitality in 1983, and then Holy City Hospitality, which is the restaurant wing. It's got Virginia's on King Street and named after his mother, and many other restaurants. His hotels include the Hampton Inn on Meeting Street, on Marion Square. He then later bought the old Citadel building and converted that into an Embassy Suites hotel. He fully embraced Mayor Riley's 100-year plan and vision to revitalize Charleston. He purchased Charleston Music Hall in 1995, transformed it into a world-class performing arts venue. Of course, the crown jewel is Hotel Bennett, which hopefully many of you have been able to visit. And it is, if you walk in, you can see and feel family in this wonderful, world-class facility in Charleston, South Carolina. I don't know how many of you remember what was there. It was a dilapidated, abandoned Charleston County Library, and this man, with his own passion, hard work, funds, his family, turned it into an absolute amazing crown jewel for the city of Charleston and one of the top hotels in the world, not just in the United States. His hospitality group has grown to include 25 other properties in South Carolina, Georgia, and Montana. They manage 3,000 hotel keys, multiple restaurants, and recently, his son, Jack, is in charge of the company now, but Michael's still very much involved. He, as an example of his community spirit, the day after the tragic shootings at Mother Emanuel, he established a scholarship at the College of Charleston to help children of the church with an endowed scholarship. He created an exchange with the city in Dublin, Ireland, for students for intensive hospitality training. That's been going on for 15 years. And most recently, in January, he and his family announced the establishment of the Michael and Amy Bennett School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at the College of Charleston. This is College of Charleston, of course, incredible history, and this is the first named school in the college's long and storied history. Recently, after that, Governor McMaster very appropriately awarded Michael the Order of the Palmetto, our state's highest civilian honor. Our body recognized him with a resolution, which Representative Smith has up there with him. I just wanted Michael to be here and let you all see and hear his amazing story of success, of family dedication, of dedication to community, a real South Carolina and Charleston legend. Folks, please join me in welcoming and congratulating our good friend, one of South Carolina's truly great citizens, Mr. Michael Bennett and his family.
All right, Michael Bennett, thank you so much for a lifetime of service to our great state. And we appreciate you and everything you've done for our great state, especially your family. Welcome to the State House. Move on. All right. All right, Mr. Hart is recognized for a very special introduction. Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would have to say, out of the 20 years that I've been in the legislatures, these are moments that bring me some of the greatest joy and some of the greatest happiness about the service that we do in South Carolina. Would you like to have bread that was 9 cents a loaf? Gas that's 23 cents a gallon, movie tickets that are 25 cents each. Could you imagine a world there? I want to introduce you to a beautiful young lady who is 100 years old. She's in the chamber in the back, Ms. Dorothy Davenport, born in 1926, who just recently celebrated her 100th year birthday. Please give her a round of applause. So I say to you, is that a life that you would actually love to have or imagine to have? She actually lived that life. Ms. Davenport, remarkable woman who has graced this world for 100 years, born in Little Mountain, South Carolina, to Leo and Viola Chapman, the seventh of 8 siblings. She is the sole surviving member of her family, having outlived all 7 of her brothers and sisters. Throughout her century of life, she has held several positions, but the one that's most gratifying was being an educator, leaving a profound impact on the lives of countless students. After retiring from Richland School District 1, She continued to be a pillar of wisdom and guidance for her family. She learned early in life the value of family. She is a proud and devoted mother of 2 daughters, Linda Owens, Charlotte, Dorothy Roberson of Columbia, 1 son, Calvin Davenport of Winston-Salem, and adopted son, Thomas C. Chapman of Wilmington, North Carolina. They're all the joy of her life, along with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. If Ms. Davenport, if her family would please stand up in the balcony. One of the great things that I've always enjoyed doing, but for some reason, my ball always went into the gutter. Ms. Davenport is a fine enthusiast and very well player bowling. She always loved to bowl, and that's one of the best things that she did. She had a passion for bowling. Her steady alto voice has graced the St. John Baptist Church Jubilee Choir and the City Baptist Jubilee Choir, filling the pews warm, a reflection of her quiet faith and devotion. She's been a beautiful blend of dedication, joy, and connection, a legacy carried on by the many who were blessed enough to know and love her. Ms. Davenport, we love you. We cherish you. I have to say that no school or college could ever give you the education that you've learned in your life through 100 years of living. Thank you. May God bless you, and may heaven continue to smile upon you. Thank you, Ms. Davenport.
Welcome to State House, Ms. Davenport. Mr. Govan is recognized for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I ask members of the Orangeburg, Bamberg, and Calhoun County legislative delegations, if they would come forward and join me. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. We are honored today to have a very special group of individuals, of young people with us, because today we honor and recognize the Fearless Individuals Reaching Excellence Youth Coalition. This group, who is being sponsored by the Tri-County Commission on Alcohol and Drug Abuse, was named the 2026 National Group Youth Advocates of the Year by the campaign, and when I said the campaign, the National Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. This group was named this year, and they have done some outstanding things. What this award does, it recognizes a leading United States-based youth coalition and works to protect their peers and community from tobacco use, nicotine addiction, and it demonstrates the collective power of youth working together to drive meaningful change. This group is led by Vincent Sanders. Is a dedicated group of young people advocating to work to reduce not only addiction and its devastating consequences in all South Carolina communities, but they are addressing the whole issue as well. The Fire Squad members strive to educate their communities about these problems, as well as advocate for local policymakers to act. And what their efforts have done is led the Orangeburg City Council and others to pass an ordinance restricting tobacco retailers near schools, child care centers, recreation facilities, and other youth-focused spaces.
Mr. Govan, give me just 1 second. Sergeant, if you'd assist me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have conversations, please take them outside. These young people put a lot of work into this. It's very important. We want to give them the honor they deserve. Mr. Govan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The other thing that we're so excited about is that this group partnered with other organizations that host the Escape the Haze, which was the first statewide youth-led conference on vaping
vaping, which brought together 142 students from across South Carolina. It generated media coverage about these issues, and fire squads proposed solutions. It's also hosted school and community events educating young people and parents about the dangers of electronic cigarettes and other tobacco products. And as I understand it today, this group or members of the group will be heading to Washington, D.C. to be recognized at their national conference. The individuals here today are led by Michael Dennis is the Executive Director of the Tri-County Commission on Alcohol and Drug Abuse. He was a little under the weather and could not make it, but he's represented here today by Deputy Director Dee Robinson. And the students, and as I call their names, just wave your hand. Zion Goldsmith, the President, Aeneas Whaley, the Secretary, Madison Wright, and Layla Sumter, who are media managers, Jeremiah Morgan, who's the Youth Ambassador for Tobacco Free Kids, Helen Leon, who is the graphic designer, Rihanna Coleman, Patrick Hubbard, Lauren Rivers, Hannah Johnson, Mariah Ginyard, and Cassidy Cleckley. Members, let's congratulate them on their outstanding achievement, and if they would slide over to receive the award, Representative Bamberg is in the audience from the delegation. We want to recognize them for what they're doing. Again, this is a nationally recognized group. They're heading to Washington, D.C. to be acknowledged for their efforts, and we should be proud of them regardless of whether we are from Orangeburg, but they are representing the entire state of South Carolina. Let's give them a round of applause.
Welcome to State House. We appreciate your work, and hopefully it'll save some lives. We thank you for what you're doing for our state and our country. Thanks a lot. Ms. Dillard's recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to ask members if you are a South Carolina Institute of Medicine and Public Health Fellow to join me for this presentation. There's more than 80 of us. I don't know if we're still here, but yes. Mr. Speaker and members, we'll let the other group clear out.
That sounds good. Ms. Dillard, let me get some order too.
And I'm assisted by Representative Newton today. So, Mr. Speaker and members, today I'm pleased to recognize the South Carolina Institute of Medicine and Public Health as it celebrates 15 years of service and dedication to health policy here in the state of South Carolina. Established in 2011, the Institute was created to serve. Are we up there? Okay. Was created to serve as a neutral, nonpartisan, and conservative and convener around the table of health policy here in the state. Over the course of 15 years, we affectionately call it IMPH, has provided Health Policy Fellows Program to more than 80 members of the General Assembly and convenes state experts, those in state and out of state, and stakeholders to inform health and health care policy and produce trusted, evidence-based briefs on issues such as behavioral health, long-term care, and maternal and infant health. Through this important work, the Institute has helped ensure policymakers like us have access to clear and objective information to improve the health of South Carolinians. And as a board member, I want to congratulate my fellow board members and the IMPH staff for their commitment and service to the state of South Carolina. Mr. Speaker and members, help me congratulate this fine organization on 15 years of service to our state and to our people.
Welcome to State House. We're honored to have you here today. Mr. McCabe's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members of the House. Today, it's my honor to...
All right, Mr. McCabe, hold on. Folks, take your seat, please. Got conversations, take them outside. Mr. Lassinger, turn the award around so she could take a picture of it with your group. And you're now recognized for White Knoll, Mr. McCabe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues. Today, it's my privilege and honor to introduce to you and to recognize an extraordinary group of talented athletes from White Knoll High School archery team. The Timberwolves are upstairs in the balcony, and this year they accomplished something remarkable. In early March, they captured the 2026 South Carolina Archery in Schools 3D State Championship with a score of 1687, which was the highest 3D score recorded in our state this year. They also earned runner-up finish for the Bullseye State Championship, demonstrating a level of consistency and excellence that few programs can match. What's really neat about this is that this victory marks the program's 7th state championship. You heard that. This is their 7th state championship, and we're really proud of them in Lexington County. Behind every successful team stands some strong leadership, and I would like to recognize my friend Principal Nicholas Pearson, Head Coach Timothy Ernest, and Assistant Coaches Mark Kaiser and Rick Gunner. Coach Gunner recently retired from the Columbia Police Department, and we are grateful for his continued service to young people in our community. I would also like to recognize the team mom, Joni Kaiser, whose support plays an important role in this program. The team is defined by outstanding individual leadership. We are proud to recognize the team captains Owen Kaiser, Kaylee Rouse, and Julie Lee for guiding their teammates with focus and determination. Our seniors are Owen Kaiser, Drew White, and Tice Goodwin have set a strong example and leave behind a legacy of excellence for those who follow. Several team members delivered exceptional individual performances this season, including Kaylee Rouse, Julie Lee, Ivy Gant, Owen Kaiser, and Evan White. Their efforts, along with strong personal record performances, helped secure the championship and continue the program's tradition of excellence. So on behalf of the South Carolina House of Representatives, it is my honor to ask that we join together in recognizing the White Knoll High School archery team for an outstanding season and congratulate them on winning the 2026 South Carolina Archery in Schools 3D State Championship. Thank you.
Congratulations, White Knoll Archery Team. Welcome to State House. I'd like to recognize two former members, Ms. Phyllis Henderson, who is over here distracting Nathan while we're trying to get him to be quiet. Phyllis, welcome back to the floor. And I see our doctor today, Bobby Ridgway, back here. Bobby, you're so important, she wants to introduce you too. The rest on 3. Ms. Petalino is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As he mentioned, we have our Doctor of the Day, Mr. Bobby Ridgway, who is also a former member of the House, and he does a tremendous job for the fire department in Clarendon County, and we are ever so grateful. So if you don't mind, please give him a round of applause.
Bobby, once again, welcome to State House, sir. Mr. Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I just wanted to direct your attention. I've got a couple of guests with me this morning. My mother, Pam Frank, and daughter, Addison Frank, have joined us today, sitting over here on the side. Just wanted to ask you to join me in giving them a warm welcome.
Welcome to State House. I know you're proud of your son, your father. Mr. Brewer and his entourage are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Blake, if you wouldn't mind helping us out a little bit. Today we have recognized a lot of triumphs out here today, and we're going to recognize somebody who has traumatized a lot of buffets. My good friend, Representative Robbie Robbins, he's either 104 or 105 today. We're not sure. He isn't either. But these are some of the pictures of Robbie in action. If you wouldn't mind, yeah, this is Robbie on a great day. He's not sure where he's at, but he's enjoying that day. This is him. I'm not even beginning to know what the hang went on here, but you look good, cowboy. And this is his idol. So he dresses like Howard Cosell quite often, and we want to make sure that we put his idol up there. And you can see in the next picture where we talk about, he looks just like him. So Representative Robbins, happy birthday today, man. We love you. Have a great day.
Happy birthday, Mr. Robbins. Mr. Herb Kirschman, Mr. Newton. Mr. Kirschman, we're going to read a little bit while you're waiting, getting ready. Clerk will read.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, members of the House, the Senate respectfully informs the honorable body that it insists upon its amendments. 8. House regulations, charter schools.
Message received. Regulations.
As well as text security.
Regulations.
There you go. Senate amendments to House Bill 3022.
Senate amendments.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Senate amendments to House Bill 3034.
Senate amendments.
Senate amendments to 3195.
Senate amendments.
Senate amendments to 3453.
Senate amendments.
As well as Senate amendments to House 3842 low.
Senate amendments.
3872 Cox and Bowers Senate amendments.
Senate amendments.
5064 Yao Hayes Senate amendments.
Senate amendments.
House 5073 is Senate amendments to Petalino and Erickson.
Senate amendments.
Mr. Hartnett, 5131 Senate amendment.
Senate amendments.
McGinnis, House Bill 5205 Senate amendments.
Senate amendments.
We also have a committee report. We have a committee report, Education, Public Work, favorable as is, Senate 832.
Committee report.
Yep. 3851 is a committee report from Education, favorable as is Wooten.
Committee report.
Education, Public Works, favorable, Senate 812, Rankin.
Committee report.
Education, Public Works, committee reports out favorably, 711, Johnson.
Committee report.
1133 is an invitations committee report, Senate 1133.
Committee report.
Florence delegation reports out Bill 5641, Jordan.
Committee report.
Mr. Howard, congratulating Mary Long Anderson.
Mr. Howard requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Lastinger, rededicating 250, a national jubilee of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving.
Mr. Lastinger requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
We have an introduction from Mr. Hart congratulating Dorothy Chapman Sultan Davenport.
Mr. Hart requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Representative Grant honoring Columbia native Mondre Trick Williams.
Mr. Grant requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Cody Mitchell recognizing Joan DeLong.
Mr. Mitchell requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Coach Hayes, Atlanta High School strength and weightlifting team.
Coach Hayes requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Merle Smith commending Kiara Richardson.
Representative Smith requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Merle Smith saluting Trey Walker.
Ms. Smith requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Merle Smith authorizing the chamber for the ABOTA, American Board of Trial Advocates.
Adopted.
Cromer honoring Industrial Motor Service, Inc. of Anderson.
Ms. Cromer requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
We have an introduction of a House resolution. Mr. Moore, sorrow of the passing of Rob Baggett Jr.
Mr. Moore requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
1157 is a Senate introduction ranking the Department of Transportation. Name a highway.
Invitations.
Representative Scott clarifying the method by which persons can become a candidate for elections to a board of administrators.
Lead delegation.
717 is the Senate introduction. Garrett. Mothers and Preborns Act.
Judiciary.
Senate 822, Corbin. Felonies and thefts.
Judiciary.
Senate 936, Senator Davis and many others. Nuclear energy, national security, networking.
LCI.
Since 1062, Senate Education is regulations for the Commission on Higher Ed.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Senate 1062. A joint resolution to approve regulations of the State Commission on Higher Education relating to determination of rates of tuition and fees, designated as regulation document number 5443, pursuant to provisions of the Article 1, Chapter 23, Title 1, South Carolina Code of Laws. Chairman Bradley requests that this go without reference. Unanimous consent. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered. Okay. Mr. Herb Kirschman is recognized for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Coach Duncan and I are here today. He's here helping me out while Representative Newton is on his way. But we're here to recognize the 2026 state champion May River Sharks. If our Sharks can please stand up and come over here come down to where Representative Bradley is. Man, that's some big boys, isn't it? And I've got Representative Kirby with me as well. You Lake City boys like to hang out, don't you? Man. Whoa. All right, well, today we proudly recognize the May River High School wrestling team. The principal, Dr. Caron L. Webb, head coach Ashley Powell, and his coaching staff, Coach Catalado, Coach Walker, Coach Benjamin, Coach Gio, and Coach Swenson for an outstanding achievement. A few of the coaches did not make it today. So we're glad you all are standing, but the May River Sharks are being honored for winning the South Carolina High School League 4A Wrestling Championship for the second consecutive year. On February 11, 2026 at Gilbert High School, the Sharks defeated the Traveler Rest High School in a close 31-29 victory to secure the state title once again. I got to tell you, Travelers Rest, Mr. Burns, is Mr. Burns in here? Travelers Rest came in all confident and thinking they were hot. That's until the May River Sharks rolled into town. I'll tell you what, that attitude changed really quick, didn't it, guys? Oh, yeah. The Sharks finished an impressive 27-1 season, earning their 8th straight regional title, 4th lower state title, and 2nd dual state and state championship in the program history. And listen to this, all during the program's 10th anniversary year. We also commend Coach Powell and his staff for their leadership and their guiding principles of discipline over motivation. The team adopted the quote for the season as discipline over motivation season. The reason for this is that the motivation is temporary and typically doesn't last, while discipline lasts and gets you through when times get tough, Ms. Cobb Hunter. We extend special thanks to the parents. Are the parents here? Any parents with us? Stand up, please, too. Okay. Special thanks to the parents and the families of these student athletes for their unwavering dedication, encouragement, and support through the season. Your commitment plays an essential role in the success of this program and the development of these young men and women. On behalf of the South Carolina House of Representatives, we congratulate the May River Sharks for their excellence, dedication, and pride they bring to their school and community. Congratulations, May River Sharks. Let's give them a round of applause.
Let's give the May River Sharks a congratulations. Welcome to the State House. We're glad to have you here today. I want to call to your attention some other former members. I see Mr. Jakey Knotts back down there. Jakey, back to your fighting weight, I see. And then Gloria Arias Haskins. Ms. Haskins, welcome to State House. Good to see you again. Welcome to State House. Is Mr. Robbins' birthday boy still in the room? Mr. Robbins? No, he's got a turn in memory. Mr. Brandon Newton moves that the House now recede till 2 p.m. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The House is in recess. Both the Republican and Democrat caucus have lunches in their respective rooms.
My name is Dewan Wormack, and I had the distinct pleasure of serving as the 9th president at this historic institution. We're the #1 ranked historically black college university in the state of South Carolina and top 10 in the country. And so what makes us special is the people. It is the people that buy into the culture, it is the people that buy into the mission, and it's the people that buy into the vision. social justice is our focal point as an institution. Mass incarceration is a social justice issue. Healthcare disparities is a social justice issue. So the university has put resources to ensure that we do everything in our power to combat some of those healthcare disparities. Our intentional focus, 100% of it is ensuring that our community is safe and well. And when I say well, holistically, we began to look at some data impacting African Americans in Orangeburg County, and we began to think about our own family trajectory. And I talked about my mother dying from hypertension, my grandmother dying from hypertension, my grandfather passed from hypertension, and how it's generational in our communities, but not talking about the preventative work that comes behind it. And so I approached our computer science faculty member, Dr. Lyles, and said, hey, I want to do something very creative and innovative, something that can really combat healthcare disparities, but is also to infusing technology in that work.
I am Karina Lyles, and I chair the Department of Math and Computer Science, and I'm also an associate professor of computer science at Claflin University. Computer science is a way for us to build solutions to everyday problems. We have a very forward-thinking president, and so it's very easy to get him on board with the smart home. We met and talked about things that we could do as a university to make an impact in our community, because we understand that we have a purpose here. I presented him the ideal about the smart home, and he loved it.
We purchased a home in the community, and within that home, we began to invest all of the technology that is there.
It's very important for the smart home to be a home and not a house, because we want this health consciousness to just be a part of everyone's life. We're really trying to shift lifestyles here. Imagine going into your home, but then having the additional amenities that help support the things that you need to do to take care of your health and well-being. Imagine walking into the living room, taking your blood pressure, then realizing it's elevated. The house will recognize that as well. It might dim the lights, and it might change the colors of the lights, and then it might also play soothing music. While the home is doing these things in response to your medical state, it's also informing you. So we have the displays around the house because that's the way to engage and interface with the user. The house will alert you that your blood pressure is elevated, and then also give some recommendations and things that you can do to alleviate this issue. Now let's imagine you woke up from a night's rest and you got up as you normally do to get ready for work or to get ready for school or just to start your day. When you go into the bathroom, the smart mirror gives you all of your sleep stats. And it shows the graphs, it shows the charts, it tells you the cycles of sleep that you were in and how long you were in those stages. It tells you how much you might have snored. It takes the information from the bed and then it makes sense of it to tell you you slept well last night, or if you didn't, here are some things that you might want to do to get through your day. So you might want to think about reordering your to-do list, because something that requires more cognitive load might not be what you want to start out with, because it's just going to make you more drained and more tired. If you go into your bedroom, there's a workout mirror. The workout mirror allows for the cardio workout, but it also allows for meditation and yoga. A big part of the smart home is providing that health education. There are going to be times when someone might need to go to the hospital or to visit their doctor, and there may be times when you might just need to relax. And so giving them that education will help them to determine when it's time to seek medical attention or when there's some things that we can do at the home for self-care. We want to rely on the community of the individual to give them the best services possible. And so with the smart home, this data about your health can be sent directly to your health care provider. It can be sent to your doctor or your nurse or even a family member who might be monitoring your health. It allows that open line of communication, but it allows that transparency that doctors sometimes need. Or sometimes we might not think of things that we should share with our doctor, but the information is there now because the house has already sent that information over. So they know what to look for, even if we don't know what to disclose.
Oftentimes you hear these studies that are impacting large metropolitan areas. Then if you extrapolate the data, you don't have a large African American data set. And then extrapolate it further in rural America. So we want to be the thought leader in the country to be able to provide the data set. It is our hope that this data set will allow folks to make more informed medical decisions, but it's also preventative health decisions as well.
I am Shamaria Sherman, a senior computer science major here at Claflin, and I am a smart home researcher and team lead of the robotics team. Growing up in my family, I was always known as the tech-savvy person, fixing the computers, downloading all the softwares. So it was always my niche. As a researcher, our job is to always research and develop ways to basically help our community's well-being. So currently, I am working on a project called the Nutrition Label Analyzer. The goal of the analyzer is to basically analyze labels and make it easier for users to understand, to increase their nutritional awareness. When you're grocery shopping and you're purchasing things in the store, there's this propaganda of, oh, it's no sugar, but there's actually more harmful ingredients. And so if you don't know what's harming you, you can't make better decisions. So the goal is just for everyone to make better dietary choices to help these chronic illnesses and health issues. It's connected from a personal experience. My grandfather had cancer and my grandmother has hypertension. So it's like growing up, I knew they had these issues, but I didn't know the answers, or I didn't know why or what was causing it. So doing this research kind of gives me a lens to see, okay, this is what's harming our community, and maybe I can help fix this or develop a solution that could help other African Americans.
I think the smart home plays a critical part in closing the gaps for health disparities in rural areas, because one important thing is that we are the minority researchers doing the work. So a lot of this work hits close to home to us. We see our family members and our loved ones who are dealing with a lot of these ailments. If it's not us ourselves, we're driven by a different purpose.
Working with Dr. Lyles has been an amazing experience. She's like a second mother to me. She's really focused on just us growing and evolving. Coming from behind the computers, developing this project, being in a smart home where I'm actually able to test my products, it just gives me like a sense of comfort, that push that, I can help my community and I can actually see it. I think my biggest lesson working in a smart home is that effective research starts with identifying real life issues and targeting solutions at those issues. So being in the smart home is unique because I'm actually able to test these products that I'm developing with my community, with my peers, and with my school to actually see if it's working or if it's not working and how I can improve that.
There's been a long-standing concern with healthcare in the African American community, even more so in rural communities. And we recognize that, and we're very careful about the programs that we design. This is an interdisciplinary project, so we include majors from humanities department, so we include psychology majors, because one important factor is understanding the human's connection to the technology that's around them. We naturally have the computer science students writing the programs. We naturally have computer engineering students developing the hardware and the products, but this information is informed by biology students and nursing students. We also have art students who've decorated the home with their artwork, but even more, they're helping us develop the user interfaces. We actually have a cybersecurity program here at Claflin University, and those students are particularly focused on dealing with the security and privacy that could pertain around the data that happens in this home.
I think working with other majors is great because it allows different points of views. Working with someone from biology, they could bring in the genetics, like the health issues. So I just think it brings a general view of the world, and we can all collaborate to make better choices, developments in the world.
With the home, while we bought a lot of technologies off the shelf, the goal is to have our students develop these technologies and develop different technologies that cater specifically to the minority communities. And with that, we'll be able to scale those products so they would be accessible and available to all. Right now, we are in the early phases of development. Students are building their prototypes and testing them out. Eventually, we will have this space open to the community so that they can actually use the products in their final stages.
I see Smart Home impacting the community just as a health resource for the community to serve them and educate them whenever they need. And it's not only just for health-related education, but it just also gives the community the support to see how to handle these health disparities in their home and starting where they're at with their health journeys.
Our smart home is the first and only smart home that is dedicated to combat health disparities for minority communities. We are also the only physical home in the state of South Carolina. We're now able to be a showpiece for other schools and other universities to get ideas and think about things that they might be able to do in their areas. Claflin allows that space to be innovative and do that. President Wormack pushes transformation and elevation, and the smart home is a product of that agenda.
How do we see this thing from a theoretical perspective and have the research and the data, but also practical? How do we have folks to be able to say, I can live this healthy life by seeing it for myself? Our goal is to become an international model that we can show, hey, based on this work that is happening in the metropolitan of Orangeburg, South Carolina, in this rural America, that you can do this anywhere.
My grandmother was diabetic, and I had an uncle who had severe diabetes. So I didn't want to be like them.
I'm very active, so I never thought that it would be me. I could remember being pre-diabetic and saying, oh, okay, it'll go away.
Being a compliant patient was not my thing for many, many years.
When you fall and you break your leg and then it causes you to have an amputation, you'll learn very quickly that you should have done something different.
When we were growing up, Grandma had a touch of sugar. They don't tell you that not only will diabetes kill your kidneys, it can take you from the best top health to the worst.
There is a diabetes crisis in South Carolina. Diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death and costs the state $6.4 billion a year. 1 out of 6 adult South Carolinians has the disease. 1 in 3 has prediabetes, which means that nearly half of the state's adult population has a problem with their blood sugar.
As we eat, food breaks down to sugar. The body's pancreas produces insulin, which is a hormone that takes the sugar from the bloodstream and pulls it into the body's cells to give us energy. But when you have diabetes, you have a problem either with type 1 diabetes not making the insulin, or with type 2 diabetes not making enough insulin. You have more sugar floating around in the blood, and that's what causes the problems that we see from diabetes.
Eye disease, kidney disease, damage to the nerves in the legs, damage to the blood vessels throughout the body, causing strokes and heart attacks and amputations. All of those things are to a large extent driven by chronically elevated sugar levels.
In the late 90s, my internist and I were arguing with each other because she was saying, Ms. Brown, you're pre-diabetic. And I'm saying, no, I'm not. This went on for about 1.5 years until finally, early in 2000, she says, Ms. Brown, your numbers are inching up and we're going to have to give you medication. I did not want the medication because I knew the diagnosis of diabetes was a life sentence, but my doctor explained to me some of the things I needed to do, what the medication would do, how I needed to take it, and I tried to cope with it.
I like to have a little mayo on mine. How about you?
You know I love mayonnaise.
Well,
Black people, African Americans, and Native Americans in this country are more susceptible to developing high blood sugar if other circumstances are not favorable.
Attack, that's the word I want, attack. I was at the age of 40, about 10 years ago. I found out I was borderline diabetic. And I ended up getting tested and my sugars were high. I didn't really have insurance, so I didn't go to the doctor as needed. I was very lackadaisical in the beginning. My mother and father were diabetic, and I wasn't really following it or looking into it, but once I found out, it was very disturbing. I then started walking and drinking water, but it didn't help. as much as I thought it would because I didn't change my eating habits. Once I did my aunt's eulogy, my uncle's eulogy, I actually spoke over their body, and to see them die with diabetes and COPD, it was scary for me. And I had to make a conscious decision to do better, or I wouldn't be here.
One of the main pieces of diabetes education is to help the patient change their behavior, really to change their lifestyle. These are not changes we want only just a week or two or a few months, even a year. This is a lifestyle change for the rest of their life because they're going to have diabetes for the rest of their life. So even if they get their diabetes controlled, they still need to keep in mind all of the lifestyle changes that we speak about.
I learned that I was diabetic when I was about 35 years old. It's kind of strange how I found out. My mother had been kind of locked in her room for 3 days, so we took her to the doctor to find out what was wrong. You know, of course, he's asking her questions, things like, you know, are you thirsty a lot? And she'd say yes, and I'd think, yeah, me too. He'd say, do you go to the bathroom a lot? And I'd say, yeah, me too. So pretty much everything he was asking her, I realized that I had the same symptoms. He went ahead and checked me for diabetes, checked my blood sugar at that time. My mother's was 200 and mine was 300. So she was nearly passed out at 200 and I was walking around at 300, but yes, we both had diabetes.
Until you're really bad off, you know, your sugar's so high that your vision gets blurred or you have a fruity fragrance in your breath, you may not know you're diabetic. You develop hardening of the arteries. The further you go away from the heart, the smaller the vessels get. And the furthest part from the heart, feet. A lot of things that predispose you to getting an infection, and first thing you know, the only realistic thing to do would be to amputate.
I had been watching my blood sugar and monitoring it. It was always a little high, you know, 170 sometimes, maybe get up to 200 every now and again. All right, well, I'd travel overseas and put in computer systems, and we were leaving the site and I fell. I thought, wow, I must have sprained my ankle. I went to see the doctor. He said, well, don't see anything on the x-ray. Let's just have you wear a boot and have you stay off of it for a while. 60 days came and I said, look, doc, it still hurts a lot. He said, okay, let's get an MRI. And he called me back in. He said, we found out it's broken. He says, the bone has died. We can't save it. He said, but we're going to try some new things and we'll see what we can do. I went online and I did my research, and we have all the data that shows that there's only a 25% chance of recovery. I knew what had to be done. I cried for 2 days. To add insult to injury here, my mother was living with me and she was in the hospital and she died 3 days before I had my amputation. I went into severe depression, severe.
Mental health is a real thing. People who have amputations are affected by their mobility, the way that they see themselves, their level of independence, being able to drive, being able to participate in sports activities with their children. It's a really big change. It's like losing, of course, a part of yourself.
Probably 70% of my patients are diabetic. We're finding some younger people are having amputations from diabetic complications in their late 30s, 40s. I've actually seen a rise with the diabetes. I love actually helping my patients get up and gain their independence again, actually being able to help themselves at that stage.
There's gestational diabetes, which is diabetes that develops during a pregnancy but goes away after the pregnancy. The problem is that often women get pregnant and they don't know that they have diabetes when they get pregnant, so then it becomes hard to distinguish gestational diabetes from diabetes that was present before the pregnancy.
In 1980, I became pregnant. They said I had gestational diabetes, and doctor said, watch what you eat, you're fine. It's normal sometimes with pregnant women. I lost the baby. I got pregnant again. At that point, I was like told, hey, you know, you're pre-diabetic, watch what you eat. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to. I wouldn't listen to him. And in 2013, I went to work. All of a sudden, I got hit with body aches, fever, chills. I'm sitting up there going, what's going on here? Didn't know I was septic. Went to the doctors and he was like, hey, he said, that foot's got gangrene in it. He says, you got a choice. He says, you either let me have your foot. He says, and I'll have you up and walking in 6 months. Or he says, I can let you go home and you tell all your family goodbye. I looked at him, I said, no, sir. I said, this is just my earthly body. This is not my heavenly body. I said, you can have the foot. I deal with having to do dialysis now, not knowing that the diabetes would impact the kidneys.
Dialysis treatment is a process of cleaning the blood of the toxins because your kidneys aren't working properly, and so there's no way to clear all of that from your system.
If you do have diabetes and you end up on dialysis, then that's a permanent condition. So they have to commit their lives to either coming into the center 3 times a week or doing their treatment at home every night.
There is a place in South Carolina where risk factors have come together to create a perfect storm of diabetes. 29203 is a large zip code in Columbia, South Carolina's capital city. It consists of a myriad of diverse communities, some large, some small. 29203 has a majority African American population. 30% of the residents of the area live in poverty, and it is deemed a food desert for its shortage of grocery stores. Many of the people here have diabetes, leading to a plethora of dialysis centers and one of the highest rates of diabetic amputation in the country.
The fact that 29203 achieved regional, if not national, prominence is that we are, in our state, near the bottom of the nation in the state rankings, and therefore the worst zip codes in South Carolina are likely to be some of the worst in the nation. The social determinants of health are social factors that determine risk for health and health outcomes. So there's racial disparities, there's racial discrimination, there's discrimination according to income, according to where you live.
We, in 29203, we really have a pronounced food desert. You know, it's just not easy sometimes to get to the grocery store. And the vegetables are always more expensive than the processed food. Also, mamas are working and daddies are working longer hours. People aren't having time to cook nutritious meal, so you're picking up food and bringing it home. And all of that's processed. That processed food is killing us.
I've lived in 29203 my whole life. The idea of the mobile food market came up no later than 2017, which allowed us to address food insecurity. But for the federal dollars that we got for COVID, I don't know if we would have been able to implement that program. We've tried different locations because we want it to be successful and sustainable. In every neighborhood, particularly neighborhoods that haven't had a lot of investment, additional resources is what we need. Typically, a lot of programs, we may give them 2 or 3 years, but they don't have the sustainability because they don't have the funding. If we had more resources, I think we could definitely change the outcomes that we're having in our communities.
Your Dollar Store is a community-based grocery store that's providing a means of fresh produce and grocery items that's in an area considered a food desert, I should say. The neighbors here in this community, they love the store being here. To be able to come to a store that's in walking distance and get some fresh produce was a win-win for them, because now they don't have to catch a bus, which is money spent, or you got to catch a cab or Uber, which is money spent. If they spend at least $5 off their EBT or SNAP card, they'll then get $15 in fresh produce. I want to say thank you to Dr. Humphrey at Prisma, because he said we got a plan here. We want to use your store as a hub to provide a voucher program to send our diabetics here. So instead of going to a fast food restaurant, instead of going to get a bag of chips per se, they can come get an apple or orange or pineapple, strawberries, squash, cabbage, and so forth on.
In 1980, my goal was to see the black man live to age 65, because they were dying before 65.
Here in Colombia, there's a 10 or more year difference in life expectancy according to what zip code you live in.
The healthcare system isn't currently set up for providing care for people without money. It's always good to have insurance and some money, the reality.
It's a big issue for us right now in dialysis is affordability, and it really just is health insurance. So you have your different groups of persons with insurance. You have your people who are working, who are employed. You have your retired population. They generally have their Medicare. They typically will always have a secondary. And then you have your group of persons who come in and they only have Medicaid. Medicaid is limited in what they pay for, and you can't use it outside of South Carolina. But I will say that when people come from other states to South Carolina and they compare the Medicaid in New York or California or even North Carolina, they typically go back.
Accepting Medicaid expansion is, to me, a no-brainer. It would support care for about 350,000 people in South Carolina who have very inadequate care right now.
Because South Carolina did not expand Medicaid, we still have a large portion of individuals in our state who are uninsured. And that is where we as Cooperative Health can help support individuals who don't have insurance.
Cooperative Health, we try and provide compassionate health care, respectable health care in the spirit of the Good Samaritan. And especially with pediatrics, we have our Eau Claire High School, which is essentially across the street from our Eau Claire Neighborhood Health Center. And so being able to provide accessible, excellent health care to the children in the community to try and help them establish themselves for a great future is an important part that we provide. We've been in the 29203 zip code since 1981. There still is a desert in some respect as it relates to healthcare services. And as a community health center, not only can we take the traditional insurance, Medicare and Medicaid, but we also have a sliding fee for our patients that are uninsured. So it has been our hope that we can be able to help our patients wherever they are to maximize their health status. Diabetes is really challenging. We have maybe about 25,000 adult patients that we take care of, and about 5,000 have a diagnosis of diabetes. Starting in January 2023, we onboarded our virtual diabetes program, and it has been a smashing success.
Hello, pharmacy?
Our goal was to be able to bring everything together, that our clinician is in sync with our pharmacy, our clinician's in sync with our behavioral medicine support, is in sync with our diabetes education, and they're a team that's able to work together as a unit.
Today we're just going to talk a little bit about sugar in our drinks and how much sugar is in some of the drinks that you might be consuming, because
I love my job as a diabetes educator. It's very patient-centered and trying to help them figure out how does this apply to their life, and really just seeing the patients do the work.
You might have somebody who's drinking 6 sodas a day and they're not willing to give up that habit.
It's going to be a little adjustment then.
Also helping them to make these changes in small steps so that it's more easily done, and then they can kind of see the impact of it, realize how much better they're going to feel if they start cutting these sodas out. Their blood sugar start to improve, and I think then a lot of times it kind of falls in place from there.
Hey,
Welcome, good to see you.
Miss Knight, she always left me in charge of my body. And so I always felt like we were kind of hooked together in my pursuit of wellness. These people were like my team. They were like my friends. They really showed that they cared about how I was doing. So I had a kind of support that I had never had before. And that made a big difference in me being able to finally, after 35 years, get my blood sugar under control.
I talk to the youngsters all the time about their lifestyle because they want to eat the Twinkies, they want to drink the sodas, and with playing football, you can't do all of that because you get cramps, you get tired quicker. So I speak about it every day to them. Some of them know I have diabetes and some of them don't, but I do wear my patch, my insulin pen, so sometimes they ask. And sometimes I'll volunteer and let them know, you don't want to get one of these.
So, you know what's going to be important, your first step, right?
People under the age of 20 within the next 40 years, their rates of diabetes are expected to go up by 700%. So, and that's not just in 29203, that's just a national statistic. Diabetes is preventable, but you have to catch it either in the pre-diabetes stage or before the person, gets diagnosed.
New agents, they're called GLP-1 agonists, have the capacity to address some of the fundamental drivers of type 2 diabetes and obesity. There's all kinds of problems with expense issues, coverage issues, but those will change with time, and I think these are a revolution. Diabetes Free SC began 4 years ago. Blue Cross executive walks into my office, says, we want to deploy our foundation monies, not all of them, but a significant amount. And I became involved with it and became the medical director because I thought it was such an extraordinary, surprising, visionary thing. So in our work, we're really trying to knit people together. We're trying to break down silos. Patients need coordinated, intercommunicative, team-based care. We have the potential to be a leader in the nation, to show how things can be done, to win the fight against diabetes in South Carolina.
I wanted to do something where I could get around and do things. I thought about a golf cart, but I thought, I was a farmer when I was young. I think I want to do some more farming again. So I bought a tractor, and that has been one of the best things I've ever done. It's just, that almost defines who I am now. I'm just a little guy on the tractor, and my wife says, oh God, here he comes to that tractor again. He's probably gonna dig another hole and fill it back in. Well, at least it's something I can do, So I'm happy.
Your blood sugar is beautiful.
When your blood sugar is up, it can change your mental state. And one of the things that I have wrestled with for many years is depression. And I have found, since my blood sugar is on key now, on level, that I'm not as depressed as I had been before, which is a miracle for me because I've spent so much of my life in that state.
Would you like a little ice in it?
Very little.
Justine is my sister-in-law. We plan meals together, we do family dinners, we consider ourselves the matriarchs of the family now, and we're trying to set the example for the younger ones to follow. The family members have a propensity for gaining weight. The family members have a propensity for being diabetic.
We do eat a lot of meals together, so we try to make them as healthy and as satisfying as possible, realizing that our health is important.
Cheers to you.
And cheers to you.
That's good.
It's a big subject because no one really cares. I don't think they care or really see what it can do. I'm grateful. I'm thankful that I took control of my health, and I'm still working on it. It's a challenging situation to be able to check your sugars every day and to take your insulin every day, and I'm just happy to have the chance to get it right.
There we go.
I had to learn how to communicate. I had to learn to communicate with others so that they could communicate with me. I've been looking for something to do and some place to go. I don't forget that I'm diabetic. I don't forget that I wear a prosthesis. I don't forget that I am on dialysis. No woe is me. Yay, it's me. I learned how to live again. And it may be minus a few things, but I'm living.
Bingo.
Coming up on Citizen Better, join me, KJ Kearney, as I explore the link between climate change and racial inequities. We're also going to examine the power and pitfalls of social media activism in driving real change. Now this is Citizen Better. Climate change impacts our natural environment, but it's also a racial justice issue. Communities of color in the U.S. and globally are impacted first and worse by flooding, heat, and pollution. That's why environmental justice advocates from these communities in South Carolina are working towards solutions, from monitoring the water in their neighborhoods to lobbying their local legislators. Let's take a look.
So we're going to add 10 drops to our 10 milliliters, right? So
What happens if she does 11?
I mean, it probably wouldn't be the biggest deal, but
Climate change is not a future problem. It's here now. And as global temperatures rise, the glaciers are melting and the sea level is rising too. You can see the effects all over South Carolina right now. Coastal cities like Charleston have seen the sea level rise about ½ an inch per year since 2010. And heavier rain has led to flooding all across South Carolina.
I was born and raised in Columbia, and I lived in the Lower Richland community. So now I'm a graduate student at USC, trying to address environmental justice issues in my community. Since 2015, when we were hit with the 1,000-year flood, my community was impacted drastically. Mold, property damage, road closures, and even now we have more recurring rain events and flooding, as you can see along the Congaree. We don't have all the answers, and we know that the flood is going to keep on happening. It's just figuring out the best way to mitigate and respond.
And those floodwaters bring with them even more problems, from property damage to pollution, because many of the same fossil fuel facilities that are responsible for warming our climate are also polluting our environment. Climate change and environmental destruction are part of our present, but just how much they affect our future is still in our power, because the answers of what you can do about it could be closer than you think. South Carolina is home to 28 of the country's 1,300 plus Superfund sites, land contaminated with toxic waste that can infiltrate our water systems, especially during floods. And sometimes waste gets dumped directly into the rivers. As recently as 2010, South Carolina's DHEC determined that a former manufactured gas plant had been discharging coal waste, which was found in the Congaree River sediment. The $20 million cleanup efforts were only completed in 2023. In the meantime, everywhere the Congaree floodwaters went, coal tar pollution followed it. So, I'm out here in Congaree National Park with Beata DeWitt. She's close to the problem and she's close to the solution, because she's teaching the next generation of Lower Richland residents how to monitor the quality of their water. So how do you find these groups of people that you're leading, and do other states have similar programs?
So we started with the high school students, and so these students are in a biology course, environmental health course, so they kind of already have the passion or the awareness of our ecosystem. And so we hope that not only just engaging with them, but also showing them, like, you know, you can do this in your own backyard. That will spark people to want to come out and do more, and probably tell their friends that, hey, this is something interesting, but we're also doing something impactful for our environment.
Things like rising sea levels and temperatures, heavy rains, toxic waste sites, and pollution in riverways may seem like separate issues from environmental degradation, but they're deeply intertwined. And like many other civic issues we face, they impact vulnerable populations first.
I work a lot in the energy space. And one thing that we found is that when it comes to energy, and when it's where they place these fossil fuel facilities and coal plants and gas plants, it's almost exclusively in communities of color, so Black and brown communities. And we found that these communities suffer the brunt of whatever is being done, and we call them often frontline communities, fence line communities, but they are suffering unequally the burden of energy generation everywhere throughout the U.S.
In 1982, environmental advocates discovered a disturbing pattern when a toxic waste dump was slated for placement in a Black neighborhood in Warren County, North Carolina. The Warren County project was just one instance of a nationwide trend of placing waste sites, power plants, and other pollution generators in non-white, low-income neighborhoods, leaving communities of color to bear the health consequences. Residents in Warren County marched and protested the dump for over 6 weeks, concerned that it would leach toxic chemicals into their drinking water. The dump was still built, but they brought national attention to the issue of environmental justice. Congress requested a report on the locations of toxic waste sites in the U.S., which was released the following year. The U.S. Government Accountability Office found that most of the population living close to surveyed hazardous landfill sites were Black. Other organizations, including the United Church of Christ Commission for Racial Justice, launched their own investigations. The group found that communities next to at least one hazardous site were on average 24% people of color, where communities without a waste site were only 12% non-white. Dr. Benjamin Chavis Jr., who worked on this report, coined the term environmental racism to describe this concerning pattern that environmental justice advocates like Beata and Paul are still trying to unravel today.
One of the real world consequences of climate change is local flooding. And here in the Midlands, it's been a little bit insane. We can have flood events in 5 Points area if it rains more than an inch at any given time. And not only does it have an impact, like with a car that might be floating, it also impacts communities downriver as well. So the Lower Richland community is right beside Congaree National Park. So they have every form of pollution you can think of down there. In the outskirts of the community, there is even a nuclear fuel fabrication facility that has been known to leak contamination and out into the community.
To address environmental racism and climate injustice, People need to be able to access information about what's happening in their community, whether that's at the side of a river or behind a keyboard.
You'd be surprised what's happening in your neck of the woods, what's happening in your backyard. If you were to go on to the EPA or their state equivalents websites and look for Superfund sites or brownfields, you'd find they're all around you. So by looking up and trying to find what's going on around you, you can know a little bit more about the risks that are at play and hopefully take action to stop them.
But then, importantly, environmental justice advocates share that information with the people around them so they can work together towards a solution. Climate change is an all-hands-on-deck issue that starts with observing the world around us and speaking up when we notice that something isn't right. Black and brown communities are often most affected by these changes, but that also means environmental justice communities can be on the front lines of making change. As Paul Black says, the people closest to the problem are also closest to the solution. That begs me to ask the question, what solutions can you create in your community? When a disabled fan was not allowed to board a flight to see Beyonce's Renaissance tour with his wheelchair, the Beehive sprung into action to get him to a new tour date. Sometimes logging on to social media can be a first step towards being a better citizen. Does online activism actually work? If the first thing you thought of are those black squares people posted on Instagram in 2020, you might be a little skeptical that social media posts really have the power to create change. And you wouldn't be alone. A 2023 Pew Research study showed that 46% of social media users took some kind of political action last year. However, 76% of users believe that social media makes people think they're making a difference when they really aren't. But what if I told you that social media activism can work if you do it right? To figure out how to do online activism that makes change for the better, I talked to disability justice activist Kia Brown. From her first viral hashtag, Disabled and Cute, that encouraged self-love and joy among disabled Twitter users, Kia's used her platform to advocate for better disability representation in pop culture.
I have cerebral palsy, and so growing up, I didn't really have a lot of people who were like me in my area, and so a lot of the work that I had to do to discover who I am and discover other people like me was built online. And that's when I became an activist online, because I had no groups in person or in my area, and I really began to do my work so that I could make sure that people didn't have to worry about not seeing somebody who looked like them and not having a voice like theirs in these conversations.
For Kia, social media activism wasn't about performance, it was about access. Anyone with an internet connection and a smartphone can log on and talk about what's important to them.
A lot of disabled people come to the internet for community because disability can be so isolating. There's so much that we can't do, not because we don't want to, but just because our body has limitations. Like I can't walk long distances or run a marathon, but I can get online and use my voice to hopefully make the world a better place.
When offline spaces are not inclusive, disability justice advocates have been able to create new online spaces to interact and organize around their shared experiences and goals. Like when activists Alice Wong, Andrew Pulrang, and Greg Baratan created the social media campaign Crip the Vote that became a rallying point for disabled activists to call for inclusion in candidates' policy priorities. Disabled advocates have often used social media to call attention to the ableism they face in everyday life. Take John Hetherington, who was unexpectedly turned away from a flight because of his wheelchair, which he had traveled with many times before.
They tell me that my chair is apparently 4 inches too tall to be loaded onto the plane. Guess I'm not going to Seattle and I'm not seeing Beyonce. The man goes, "Oh, I think I remember your chair. We had to write a report about it." And that's the first time ever that I've ever heard this. I've flown all over the country, from Oregon to as far as Texas, to go to different concerts, and never heard anything like that.
So just give us a little bit of detail about what you decided to do after that.
you know, I was just frustrated. So I decided I'm just going to make a TikTok and kind of talk about the experience, what I had gone through, just thinking that, you know, I didn't have very many followers on TikTok, and I just thought a couple hundred people would see it, and that would kind of be the end of it. I just wanted to share my experience, so that's what I did.
Yeah, you did a great job because people were tagging who? Tell me some of the people that were being tagged in your video.
Beyonce, Jay-Z, Beyonce's sister Solange, her mom, Tina, her entertainment company, just anyone basically that had any close connection to Beyonce was getting tagged in this TikTok, basically. I didn't even know that it had gone viral on other platforms at that point.
So anyone who says social media doesn't actually make a positive difference has never met the Beehive. I mean, what other groups of tens of thousands would be committed to going completely silent? From the K-pop stans organizing streaming parties to get their favorite groups to the top of the charts, to the TV lovers rallying to get their favorite shows renewed for another season, fandoms know how to set a goal and stay on it. And in that way, fandom is a lot like activism. If you've ever used closed captions on Netflix, or rolled a wheelchair, stroller, or suitcase through the curb cuts in the sidewalk, you've seen the impact of the Americans with Disabilities Act, a set of civil rights protections prohibiting discrimination based on disability. But do y'all realize that the ADA has only been in place since 1990? In fact, disability justice activists fought for decades for this legislation. In the spring of 1990, after decades of sit-ins, transit boycotts, and protests modeled after the civil rights movement actions of the 1960s, disability activists like Mike Auberger and Maria Palacios gathered for a Wheels for Justice march on Washington. When they arrived at the base of the Capitol steps, they wanted to show just how inaccessible many physical spaces are and how lack of access robs disabled people of dignity and equality. Hundreds of activists, including the 8-year-old Jennifer Keelan Chaffins, got out of their chairs and crawled up the marble stairs, making a powerful statement that legislation couldn't wait any longer. The ADA was passed later that year, requiring businesses, schools, and transportation services to accommodate disabled people. But in practice, it isn't perfect. Like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it outlaws discrimination, but doesn't mean discrimination never happens. Many businesses and institutions have been slow to adopt accommodations.
The ADA is not the end-all be-all. It is the start. The ADA being signed into law was signed into law in 1990, which is the year before I was born. But it's just the start. It's just a paper. Oftentimes, when disabled people encounter inaccessibility, it is on us to do the work of trying to make it accessible. Businesses can take years to actually make the building accessible if a disabled person has the time, attention, and money to keep after them to make a building accessible. It is on the disabled person to bring accessibility to the forefront when it shouldn't be.
And that's exactly what happened to John when he got turned away from his flight.
And he ultimately tells me, well, the only plane big enough to get you to Seattle is an Airbus. And it's going to get me into Seattle about 12 hours after the concert is over. And I'm just demoralized at that point because it's like, you know, it was a very hard process to even get a ticket to Renaissance Tour. This was a huge deal, one of the biggest tours in the world.
Fortunately, making noise is something activists and fandoms using social media know how to do. When the Beehive helped his video go viral, he was able to get another flight and get tickets to another date of the Renaissance Tour. But John didn't experience a fluke moment of discrimination. In fact, during the social media flurry around his video, John declined to name the airline he was turned away from to make it clear that wheelchair users encounter problems with airlines all the time. In 2022, More than 11,000 wheelchairs were damaged by flight crews, more than 1 out of every 100 wheelchairs they handled. He wanted me to know that his experience was not an individual issue, and that online activists should keep putting pressure on airlines to ensure better treatment of all wheelchair users.
It's not just about one guy getting to go to a concert and see one artist. This is about systemic issues that people live with on a daily basis, you know? My going to this concert, while amazing, did not defeat ableism in any way. It's still something that I deal with every day of my life, and there are millions of other people who do too. So that's been my goal in all of this, is to keep raising those issues and not let people just have this be a feel-good moment. It's not that, really. It's far more than that.
Social media campaigns like John's and Kia's show that online activism can make an impact that lasts longer than the time it takes for us to scroll to the next post. But in order to beat the slacktivism allegations, we have to ensure that one moment of virality is not the end of the conversation.
To me, the
Senator,
most
please come
important
to order.
thing is
Senator
that
from Cherokee, what
people
purpose do you ask?
understand that they
Call
can
of
be
the Senate.
affected
Call
by
of the
these
Senate
issues
has
as
been
well,
requested, is
whether they're
granted, the
currently
clerk will read
disabled or
them.
not. And it's important that we all
The reading clerk will call the roll of the Senate to record your presence.
Mr. Adams. Absent. Mr. Alexander. Present. Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen is present. Mr. Bennett. Present. Mr. Blackman is present. Mr. Bright is present. Mr. Campson is present. Mr. Cash is present. Mr. Chaplin is present. Mr. Clymer. Mr. Clymer. Absent. Mr. Corbin. Present. Mr. Cromer is present. Mr. Davis is present. Mrs. Devine is present. Mr. Elliott. Absent. Mr. Fernandez is present. Mr. Gambrell. Absent. Mr. Garrett. Mr. Garrett is present. Mr. Goldfinch is present. Mr. Graham. Present. Mr. Grooms is present. Mr. Hembry. Absent. Mr. Hutto is present. Mr. Jackson. Absent. Mr. Johnson. Absent. Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy is present. Mr. Kimbrell. Present. Mr. Lieber is present. Mr. Martin is present. Mr. Massey. Absent. Mrs. Matthews. Absent. Mr. Ott. Mr. Ott is present. Mr. Peeler is present. Mr. Rankin. Absent. Mr. Rickenbaugh is present. Mr. Rice is present. Mr. Sabb is present. Mr. Stubbs is present. Mr. Sutton is present. Mr. Tedder. Absent. Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner is present. Mr. Verdon is present. Mr. Walker is present. Mr. Williams is present. Mr. Young is present. Mr. Zell is present.
Have all senators answered the call? Senator Massey is present. Senator Clymer is present. Senator Johnson is present. Senator Adams is present. Senator from Lawrence, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, to ask unanimous consent that the senator from Anderson be granted leave until 5 p.m.
Is there objection to the unanimous consent request that Senator Gambrell be granted leave until 5 p.m.? Here, no objection, so ordered. Senator Tedder is present. Senator from Dorchester, what purpose do you rise?
Unanimous consent request.
State your request.
Mr. President, unanimous consent that the following members be allowed to vote from the balcony until 3 p.m. today. That would be myself, the senator from Greenwood, Senator Garrett, senator from Florence, Senator Rickenbach, senator from Marion, Senator Williams, and senator from Anderson, Senator Gambrell if he returns.
Is there objection to the unanimous consent request that those individuals be allowed to vote from the balcony? Hearing no objection, so ordered. We'll continue in a roll call. Senator, let me finish that up. Thank you, sir. Other members needing to record your presence. Final call. Have all members recorded your presence? Senator Elliott is present. We have 40 members present. A quorum of the Senate is present. Senator from Aiken, what purpose do you ask? You're recognized for the purposes of an introduction.
Today we have a very special guest. We have with us Miss Penelope Carr.